Hello and welcome to The Apprentice, You're Fired. I'm Anton Savage and we are going to be busy tonight because we have not just Ciara, we have Jamie as well. But before we get to all that, there's one bit of unseen footage that I want to show you because we've seen Barry have problems with English before when he came up with the word dictatorshipy to explain Michelle. It's getting worse now. In fact, you could probably say it's becoming a fiasco.
Again, me and Panos haven't worked together now since Lucas Aid, and you remember that, Tabasco. Tabasco, is that even a word?
Well, please welcome my panel who are here to make sense of tonight's Tabasco. From Harvey Norman, John Hollings. Owen Rixon from Carlton Cinema Advertising. And the one and only Miss Jackie Lavin. Well, no fiasco or Tabasco is complete without a fiery. Let's remind ourselves how Bill dealt the fatal blow.
Ciara, you're 4 times in the boardroom.
Yes, Bill.
So the only thing I can say here is, Ciara, you're fired.
Thank you, Bill.
And good luck with everything.
Well, folks, please give a warm welcome to Ciara McManus.
Hi, how are you?
Have a seat.
Thanks very much.
Ciara, we were talking about this last week.
Yes.
There came a point in The Apprentice where it seemed like your spirit just sort of broke, where you just went, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, I suppose I was really missing my family at that stage. I'd already been in the boardroom 3 times. And I kind of thought maybe I should find another tact, I suppose, of trying to get around people.
But did you think that was it, you weren't going to make it? Did you think you weren't going to win it at that point?
No, I never thought I was never going to win it, I'll be honest.
Really? Even
but I never thought that I really was
3-4
going
times?
to either. For me, it was a process of kind of just trying to get through each week, you know, keep the head down, go through each task and do the best that I can. So it wasn't really looking at, is that am I gone now, or I didn't have a strategy like that in place.
When you watched tonight's task, when Jamie was doing the directing, you almost found yourself wanting to say, come on, take over, Ciara, but you were quite standoffish. I
suppose that at one stage I actually do take over and do a couple of them myself as well, but you know, I suppose there's a kind of a fine line, you feel, you know, you murdered if you do and murdered if you don't.
Surely you could have put together a nice ad nonetheless, even if you had difficulty with it.
Could have done, and I suppose, and I do put my hands up because I spent more of my time, I suppose, in discussions and stuff with Jamie about what I was happy with, and we were arguing with each other, than I was about what was important, which was time management, the product, and obviously the 2 lovely gentlemen over the other side of the table. And instead of doing that, you know, me and Jamie went a little...
Let's ask one of the gentlemen. John, you were fairly critical of the ad in the show itself. Was it that bad?
It failed to achieve anything that relates to style and sophistication. It was very cheap, and I did make a reference to a particular genre of film done very badly in the 1970s. I felt sorry for Ciara. I think, you know, early on in the piece she had some good concepts, and it just derailed into that little mess that we ended up seeing at the end. Was the presentation, Owen, as bad as the ad?
No, I mean, I thought the presentation was actually, they were better. They were the better group at doing the presentation, to be honest with you. But just the finished product, it lacked kind of soul, or didn't seem to connect with the kind of cinematic themes from my perspective anyway. Quite clearly. So
I find, kind of from looking back at it myself from a sales point of view, you know, we kind of lost track on the product, and we're looking more at trying to make a film which, between the 3 of us, had never done before in our whole entire lives. Which you could see. Particularly that type of genre film as well. But so, like, you know, and I think that was where I made the crucial mistake, as well as obviously not keeping an eye on
Ciara,
my
was there
mind.
not a bit of sulking going on as well? You know, he's fighting with me, so therefore I'm really not. I'm going to fight back with him, and now it's going to be his fault, and it was your fault, his fault. Whose fault is it at the end of the day? And Michelle then just sat back, did absolutely zero, and let the 2 of you at it. I mean, I don't think there was any emphasis on the ad, the product, anything all day, except other than the row.
I think that really, I mean, as myself and Jamie would get into rows and stuff, we'd actually sort it and then just put it behind us and move on, but then we'd go into another one, and then there'd be another one. And
did you annoy the hell out of one another?
I think, I mean...
In the house as well?
I wouldn't say that we annoyed the hell out of each other in the house. I suppose that we weren't... we weren't as close, I suppose, as other the candidates have.
Oh,
you know,
come on, you couldn't stick each other. You can see it on the tape. We know you didn't like each other.
It's not that I didn't like Jamie. I think from when we started off in the Gibson, himself and maybe another one or two of the candidates had kind of maybe just made up their mind that I shouldn't have been there, or that even if I was there, that I wasn't a threat or a challenge. Which I think, you know, I stayed in for 10 weeks. I fought my corner in the boardroom, and
you can give us insider trading. Had you early on written Ciara off, or did Bill think she had?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, why do you think Bill gave her 4 chances in the boardroom? I mean, if he had written her off, she would have been gone day one. He kept giving her chances. As a matter of fact, I think he probably gave you more chances than anyone else, Ciara. You know, so he kept on saying, there's something to Ciara. Let's keep her going. Let's see if we can bring something out of her. But I think, Ciara, it's true that you really did lose heart, lose faith, and you really weren't happy in the house.
I want to bring in Mairead Fleming from Brightwater Recruitment on this. Mairead, that was the sense, the thing that Jackie is talking about the trouble in the house. We got the sense all the way through that Ciara was almost struggling more in the process than anybody else. Is there anything she could have done to prevent that?
You know, it was a very tough time for Ciara. She's much older than the other candidates. OK, not much older, but you are older than them.
Thank you, Mairead.
But you are a good few years older than most of them. And you're in a very different space in your current life. So perhaps that didn't help you making the friendships that the others had developed. You know, you weren't in it to make friends, and you said that all along. However, like it or not, in business, it does help to have friends. It does help to align yourself with other people, because they will support you come what may, and you didn't have that support mechanism that a lot of the other candidates did. You had a very tough time because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I did have actually very close friends in the house. It probably mightn't have come across that way.
Who?
Well, I shared a room with Michelle, Tara and Nishat. I got along well with Sarah and Panis as well. I think everybody got along well with Panis.
Yeah, everyone seems to love
Panis. Yeah. And I have to say, in the last 3 weeks in particular, without him in the house, because the others had now gone, it was just myself and Michelle in the room as well, I would have been completely lost without him. So, I mean, I did have those friendships in the house. I think, you know, there's nothing to excuse the last task, but I do think that, you know, I might have been unfortunate sometimes with the way the teams were laid out, that maybe some of the people that I was with were the closer group of friends, and then there was me.
Let's have a look back at the task so that we can remind ourselves where it may have all gone wrong.
Ciara, I appointed you project manager on this task because I wanted you to prove yourself to me.
Yes, Bill.
And from where I'm sitting, it's clear that you got lost along the way.
We're all over the place. We need to be. There's no organisation, there's no time management, there's no delegation.
When people go to the cinema, I don't think they want to see an ad of some woman coming home tired, wrecked, and that will just go over them.
I felt that after the focused group that it did need to be tweaked in places, but I really honestly felt that it didn't have to be changed completely. Finding Jamie a bit negative, he doesn't have very much confidence in me or my ability. I think he's just been overly cautious. Will you be able to get out as soon as you can?
You couldn't get from Termonfeckin to where you were in half an hour.
Absolutely.
Well, it's back to time management again on this task. Here we go again.
2 more actors booked.
Yeah, we're going to do the Harvey Norman scene.
We could do that in a still shot.
Ciara's not really managing the project very well. Jamie is running out of time.
So you're directing now?
Yeah, sorry.
Or she kind of doesn't maybe listen to what I have to say. It's probably one of the more difficult PMs that I've had to work with.
Ciara, you're fired.
Jackie, should Michelle be taking some of the blame for that? Because, as you said, she sat back. She effectively, through the task, hung Ciara.
Absolutely, I completely agree. She sat downstairs and said, well, Ciara told me to mind the models. Mind the models? The models were over 18. You didn't need babysitting, for God's sake.
Just making sure they didn't eat anything. Very important.
And she went and she collected the tuxedos and stuff like that. I mean, she was the runabout. For a girl of her ability, she wouldn't normally take those sort of tasks.
Arriving in fresh to them, John, who out of the group impressed you?
Out of this group?
Yeah.
Out of Ciara's group? None of them. I think all 3 of them should have gone, yeah.
Even
Really?
Michelle, because we've heard such great things about Michelle.
Was very strategic. I think she thought Ciara was going to fail and get fired, and she just tried to hide under the radar so she wouldn't do anything wrong to draw any attention. It was very, very strategic.
Oh, and what about the other team? You fresh to them, anyone stand out?
I think you've talked about him the last few weeks. I think Will stood out, Niamh in particular stood out, presentation style, particularly in answering questions. You know, kind of Panos with very good as well. He tried to step in, tried to save the team, so to speak. And I have a soft spot for Barry, but I mean, you know, I do think he's a grafter, if you want to put it that way. I felt for him, you know.
Would you rate Will? Do you think he has a shot at it?
Very fond of Will. He's a really, really nice guy, you know. But I have to say, Michelle and Panis would be my choice.
Well, just go back to Will. I didn't ask you if you liked him. I asked you, do you think he can win it, and do you rate him?
I think that, you know, in 10 years' time, Will probably be the richest man in Ireland. But I just think at the moment he's like 22. He still has a little bit to learn.
So that's a very nice no. Let us remind ourselves of Ciara's highlights from her time in The Apprentice. Ciara, for you and everyone at home, these are your highlights.
What team name did you pick last night?
Fusion.
And who did you pick for project manager?
Ciara.
I know I'm going to win The Apprentice this year. I am not here in The Apprentice to make friends. I'm in here to win it.
Ciara, you will be leading the boys.
Wouldn't fancy getting your photograph taken in a beautiful Fiesta. I just hope it's going as badly for the other team as it is for us. Otherwise, I'll be back in the boardroom again.
I got my first commission-only door-to-door knocking sales job when I was 13, and I've never left sales since.
If it was me, I'd probably vote for Ciara.
Caroline, you think I should fire Ciara too? So there's two of them pointing the finger at you, Ciara.
There is indeed. I'm getting used to that, Bill. But we have the chili burger slice, slippy slice, apologies. I mean, I'm PM on this task and I get the final decision on it. I've taken on board everything that you've said. I know how you feel about this, but as PM, I've decided that we're doing it.
What? What you need to do is put your business head on, take the friendship out of it. There is strategy and there is relationships being involved in this room. And I tell you, you've made a show of yourself today by doing what you did. What's the name of the blue guy in Fantastic Four?
I'm young, but I'm not that young.
Who painted them blue?
I painted them blue.
Ciara.
Yeah. I did, Bill.
This man is Dean.
That's right.
And he's only 16. Do you know what that is?
It's a child. I really want to be here. And I left an awful lot at home to be here.
Ciara, I know we shouldn't fixate on this too much, but in the middle of all of that, there is a tiny snippet of that thing we saw of Barry with his hand on your thigh.
Yes.
Just as a reminder, that was 52 seconds of his hand on your thigh.
That was 52 seconds.
How did you let him keep his hand on your thigh for 52 seconds?
Because if I was touched him, I probably would have killed him at the time. I was so mad.
Folks, Ciara is going to be back with us again in part 3, but after the break, we have Jamie, the other person who heard the words, "You're fired" tonight. Well, you're welcome back to The Apprentice, You're Fired. In tonight's episode, Bill was an angry man, so angry that he fired 2 candidates. In case you missed it, we're going to take a quick reminder of the second person who heard those words that no candidate wants to hear.
You are an entrepreneur. And I believe you'll make good. But Jamie, you're not for me. So Jamie, you're fired. Off you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jamie Moore.
How are you?
Jamie, we heard from her there before the break. Was your main problem in this task that you spent more time fighting with Ciara than you did doing the task?
It didn't help, but like our idea from the start, we just couldn't get to grips with it. Like, there's 3 of us in there, and like I was as disappointed in myself as anyone else.
I think this is the first time we've ever seen someone be fired off the back of another firing.
Okay.
When did you get a sense that it was all going a bit pear-shaped for you?
Normally when the person that does get fired is fired, that person leaves the room and Bill says, okay, right, you know, you've done bad, but pull your socks up and do better next time. But there was a real long silence after Ciara left. So I knew something was wrong, and myself and Bill just had a few words in the couple of tasks leading up to that, so I could kind of smell it coming. I knew something. I wasn't overly shocked.
Really? Because there's a shot of Michelle where it looks like she thinks she's for the high jump. I mean, she clearly thought that she might be fired.
Yeah, it looked right at the end that all 3 of us were gone, which, yeah, but Like, Michelle didn't do anything that wrong. I think at that stage, Bill was kind of, he was fed up of listening to me sticking up for myself and saying, I did nothing wrong. We were one straw short of hiring Ron Jeremy for that particular tag, so it didn't go well.
For those of you who don't know who Ron Jeremy is, we won't be